thingy.
বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতির পর আমরা আজকের অনুষ্ঠানের তৃতীয় পর্বে পৌঁছে গেছি। এই পর্বে আমাদের সঙ্গে যোগ দিয়েছেন লেবার দলীয় প্রার্থী জন বেগস। জন, thank you very much for your time and welcome to the show.
Oh, good evening and salam alaikum to all viewers and
Walaikum
yourself.
salam to you as well. My first question, how is your campaign going on? 42 hours to go. 48 hours to go, actually.
48, yeah. Yeah, it's going pretty well, actually. We've been getting a very positive response on the doorsteps. There's always a bit of argy-bargy in the last few days of a campaign, you know. Rumours start circulating, you know, my leg fell off or something, but there's nothing like that actually happening. We're doing pretty well.
Last time it was a disaster at the last mayoral election. What is different this time?
Well, this time we have a mayor who has a track record he has to defend, and we would argue it's not a very good track record. In addition, the Labour Party got itself into a almost suicidal mess last time with the two candidates basically running against each other. This time we have a clarity that I'm the Labour candidate, Lutfur Rahman is the independent candidate, and we have different priorities, and I think people in the borough have learnt quite how powerful a mayor is, and so they're taking the contest more seriously than last time.
Okay. I mean, as you said, the Labour Party went for more or less a suicidal mess.
Mm-hmm.
What is your reflection? Because it is actually the Labour Party who has created this mess in the past, and we are still seeing some people from Labour Party backing the current mayor.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, some people who used to be Labour Party members now coming out and throwing questions to you in terms of for you to respond, in terms of when you were in Tower Hamlets before, your action at that time.
Goodness.
Various kind of comments have been out in the community which you have to defend.
Okay, happy to do that.
So how do you see your reflection on those issues?
Okay.
Do you think Labour Party has changed? Labour Party will perform differently from now on?
Well, okay, last time round it was a total mess. We had a selection which was taken almost to the courts. There were legal challenges all the way along the line. It stopped and started 3 times. We then had no time to fight an election campaign. And we had an ex-candidate and a candidate running against each other. The wider public didn't really understand how powerful a mayor was. I think they do now. And I think the Labour Party is very united around me as the candidate. There is still some confusion amongst some of our supporters because Mr. Rahman would like people to think he's a Labour candidate, but he's not. He's been expelled from the party or excluded from the party, and he's an independent. And his
Do you believe at the last election Labour Party did play the race card?
At the last election?
At the last mayoral election, in terms of the 2 Bangladeshi candidates?
Did we play the race card?
Yeah, against each other?
I've no idea what that means. I don't think so. I don't know how you play the race card with 2 Bengali candidates against each other. But more to the point.
What about this time?
Well, I think people who have been around in townlets politics for a long time, like myself and Lutfur Rahman, will know that although we may have differences of opinion, it is very dangerous to play race politics stories unless there is a very good reason for doing so. And I'm very proud of my record in the Labour Party. I've never challenged Lutfur Rahman for doing anything racially dodgy, and I think we're challenging each other on our records and on our promises. So I'd like to think we've all got old and wise enough in Tower Hamlets politics that we're not going to let ourselves be divided by the politics of racial division. That's a dead-end street. That doesn't go anywhere for anybody. All it does is weaken our communities.
Why do you think Ken is supporting Mayor and not you?
Oh, Ken is supporting me. Ken's very clear he's supporting me. If you look at the various quotes that are being used by the current mayor's party, they have been very selective in what they've said. Ken has very openly endorsed me. I've been photographed with him. He phoned me the other day to praise me on my Guardian interview for those viewers who are interested enough to have read it. He said it was a very solid interview, and he was really pleased that it wasn't descending into the name calling which we have in Tower Hamlets politics all the time. I think Ken believes that Lutfur has been harshly treated, and that's Ken's view. But Ken will support the Labour candidate, and that's me. Ken and I have a very good relationship.
In terms of this election, if you're successful, but Tower Hamlets First will also have possibly councillors in the council, how will you be working with Tower Hamlets First councillors and with Labour councillors?
Okay.
Because
well,
there will be
yeah.
quite a kind of difficult partnership, isn't it?
Okay, well, if I'm successful, I would imagine that there will be a clear majority of Labour councillors on the council. And there will probably also be Conservative councillors in some parts of the borough. I'd like there to be none, but there might be. They have some at present. And there might be a handful of Tower Hamlets First candidates who will hope to get elected. We hope that none will get elected, obviously. But let's assume that we have those three different groups on the council. As mayor, I will work with the majority group, who I'd expect to be the Labour members. But I would respect the other members, providing they respected the way the council worked. And so people represent their constituents, and they have a duty to represent their constituents, and I'd have a duty as mayor to listen to them as well, and to treat everyone in the borough fairly. I'm very, very clear about that. We're not, under John Biggs as mayor, going to have any preferential system where the bits that voted for me get a better deal. We need to respect the needs of people across our borough. And obviously, I'd like us to win everywhere, but you know.
If you're successful, will you still keep your GLA post?
The answer to that is I'd very much like to just press a button and get rid of it. If I would, and that's probably not the best way of putting it, but I will focus single-mindedly on Tower Hamlets mayor as my primary job. A by-election for City Hall would cost about £500,000. I would refuse to accept two salaries. So I'd take.
So you will not accept two salaries?
I wouldn't accept two salaries. I'd certainly take a pay cut on one of the salaries, which is, I think, what happens for MPs who become, or Assembly members who become members of Parliament. But I'm a very hard-working guy, so when people put these silly things up saying 2 jobs, there are many people in the world who have 2 jobs, but I will work 50, 60 hours a week as the Tower Hamlets mayor, and I will work the remainder of the time, which will be quite a lot of time, as the City Hall representative.
But then you won't have any work-life balance.
Oh, well, anyone who is
I'm sure you promote that for your employees.
Okay, anyone who's involved in Tower Hamlets politics will know that I have got a pretty unhealthy work-life balance anyway. And I try to snatch bits of time.
Then you're not going to be a good role model.
Oh, well, no, I think I'm going to be a good leader, and I understand how things work, and I will work very hard at it, and I will delegate to people as well, which the current mayor doesn't do. But I think people needn't worry about my well-being. My job is to worry about their well-being.
Okay. I understand Tower Hamlets residents have actually received a letter from your campaign office today or yesterday saying that you're asking for the second vote, and as well as you're saying that current mayor has been doing some fraudulent work. How is
I'm not aware of that. I mean, it's an interesting suggestion.
Some of Tower Hamlets residents have actually received that letter, and there is no evidence that current mayor has been actually. There hasn't been any evidence still established that there has been fraudulent work against Mr. Rahman. So how is it that possible that your campaign is saying that?
Okay, I think you asked 2 separate things. One is about second preferences. So let's
that's the letter is saying. So are you actually not asking for people's first choice?
Oh, good God, no. I want everyone to vote for me as their first choice, because I think I am by far and away the best candidate, and I respect the other candidates, but I wouldn't be standing if I didn't think I was the right person to be mayor of Tower Hamlets. I'm saying to people, if they want to back another party, then obviously I'm a Democrat. I respect that, absolutely, and a lot of people will support other parties. They should consider where to place their second preference, and I would be delighted if they gave their support to me as their second choice. An obvious example would be a Green Party supporter. A Green Party supporter may be passionate about the Green Party, and as their first choice they may vote Green, but they may want to vote for me as their second choice because the Labour Party has a strong track record on environmental issues. I feel strongly about those issues myself. And there are other reasons why people might give me their second choice. The way I describe it is you vote first choice with your heart, second choice with your head.
Okay. Do you think people of Tower Hamlets will have a kind of tight tie in terms of Labour and UKIP? Because UKIP is coming up quite high in the ladder.
I think that voters, quite often politicians treat voters as if they're stupid. I think voters are pretty sensible people. I suspect that people who are voting for UKIP will mainly do that as part of the European election. The evidence is that UKIP is a party that does strongly in European elections. So on the day there will be 3 different elections: mayor, council, European Parliament. People will vote UKIP in the European Parliament elections. And I don't imagine a massive number will vote UKIP in the mayor elections. They may do, but you know, it's a democracy. people...
What about the second part of that letter, where your campaign team has actually accused Mr. Rahman of fraudulent activities?
Well, I'm not accusing
you don't
I have no...
The letter apparently says.
I have no knowledge of Mr. Rahman having carried out any fraudulent activities. You have to ask him about that. Certainly the council is being investigated in relation to a number of allegations, including, I believe, allegations which would point towards the use of resources in the council being fraudulent. There's certainly an investigation going on into a fraud about a grant made to an organisation in Bethnal Green. That's a matter of record.
But that's under investigation. So
yep.
Why is that your letter is actually saying that he has been subject to fraudulent activities? That hasn't been proven yet. So do you think that's going to be breaching?
Well, okay. As I understand it, I'm not an expert on this particular organisation, but I believe that there is a strong case that an organisation was funded, which for some reason was funded. But go on.
No, the investigation hasn't concluded yet, which would actually put...
Well, I think the letter talked about an investigation into fraudulent activities. I think there's a strong case that there was a fraudulent activity, but it may prove not to
have been. You actually seen that letter?
The
letter has gone out in your name, so I'm sure you have.
I've seen the letter because it was forwarded to me by Aliwar Chowdhury, who is one of the Mayor's lieutenants and who was very excited about the letter. And we have referred it to, and indeed he's referred it to the monitoring officer of the council or to the returning officer, and we'll see what happens with that. I think essentially the letter is a truthful letter, and I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. What will be your policy in terms of housing?
Goodness me, how long do we have? Our policy on housing...
Not long, so you have to give us a solution within the next 5 minutes.
Okay, well, the market will produce about 5,000 new homes, new supposedly affordable homes, which is what the Mayor is saying anyway. So they'll be built anyway, regardless of who the Mayor is. Whoever is elected could sleep in bed for 4 years and they'd still be built. I'm promising another 1,000 homes, which will be council homes. We will plan those council homes over the first 4 years. A substantial number will be built over the first 4 years. But I think realistically, not all 1,000 will be built in the first 4 years. If I'm elected and I'm elected again, let's see what happens. Then I would promise further targets for.
So in the meantime, the waiting list will grow. Will keep on growing.
The waiting list seems to be hanging around 22,000 at present, and we need to see what else we can do to manage that. So you're asking about housing. So we want to build some properties will be built by the private sector. We need to talk also about how we manage the private rented sector. We need to also look very closely at the detail of the places that are being built, which are being claimed to be affordable, which aren't affordable. So when the Mayor or myself or anyone claims they're building affordable housing, I want it to be clear how affordable they are. There are people on the Isle of Dogs who are being charged rents which are ridiculously high, and they are supposedly affordable because the government's policy says affordable includes 80% market rent, which in Tower Hamlets is not affordable. So it's a complicated issue. So we need to manage better the private sector. We need to look at private landlords. We need to look harder at our social landlords and making real affordable housing. We need to build some council housing. And we need to work on the existing social landlords in the borough to make sure they behave themselves better. That's the essence of our housing policy.
But how will you ensure that? Because when Labour Party was in power, Labour Party was in council, we didn't see a good track record of managing social housing that effectively.
Okay, well, first, when Labour was in power before, quite a lot of social housing was being built, and the policy then was that affordable housing was what people would call genuinely affordable. Under the Conservative Liberal government, they redefined the word affordable. It's a bit like Alice in Wonderland. The word affordable doesn't mean what it used to mean anymore. It means 80% of market, which is not affordable. And I think anyone who's Mayor needs to say, we're being forced by the government to build housing which is supposedly affordable, but which people cannot afford. Every day of the week, people are being driven out of Tower Hamlets because of the rent levels. So you're absolutely right to focus on housing. One of the most urgent priorities for whoever the Mayor of Tower Hamlets is to look at the affordability of housing in Tower Hamlets.
But Conservative candidate was saying it's only 160 families who were actually asked or made to leave Tower Hamlets as a result of housing cap.
Oh, well, this is a very complicated issue, and I need to turn it into very simple sound bites, if you like. The housing benefit cap is driving people out of homes because they're unaffordable. There are many other people who are in need for housing, who are on the waiting list, who are being rehoused in private sector accommodation outside of Tower Hamlets, and they end up giving up on Tower Hamlets. They're being driven away from their families and the community. There are many other people who don't even get priority from the council for housing, who are on a waiting list. They may be one of the 22,000, but they're told that if they want to get rehoused, they can wait if they like, but the council cannot help them. And in the meantime, they go and live in Barking and Dagenham or wherever else. So hundreds of people have been driven out of our borough by the unaffordability of housing.
So how will you ensure that?
Well,
in very simple terms.
Well, you cannot finally resolve it without getting rid of this government and having a major investment in affordable housing. And so one of the jobs of mayor is to argue very vigorously for that. You can do lots of things at the margins. You can refuse permission for developments which aren't affordable. We need to sit down with the Mayor of London and work with him on genuine affordability. He talks the talk about not wanting to, Boris Johnson this is, not wanting to drive people out. Yet his policies are driving people out. I have a good connection with the Mayor's office. They're Tories, I'm Labour, so we're not exactly close drinking pals or anything. But we will work with them to try to get them to understand this real challenge for London, which is going to turn its economy upside down.
What's your view on the regeneration of Whitechapel by bringing the town hall into Whitechapel Hospital?
Okay, Whitechapel is regenerating.
Will you keep that project?
It depends where we are with the land. As I understand it, the council has made an offer to the Royal London Hospital to buy the land. And if they bought the land, then we will look very closely at what the best use of that land is. The town hall does need to move. I'm worried that by moving it into this historic building at the London Hospital, it will be a white elephant, as they say. It will be a massively expensive project. And I think we need palaces for people to live in, not palaces for the town hall bureaucrats to live in. So we will look at a cost-effective way of re-providing the town hall.
What will be your policy for reduction of crime? Because crime rate has risen in Tower Hamlets. First of all, what do you think is the reason behind, and how will you address that?
Okay, I don't understand totally the reason for the rise in crime, but the pattern is that recorded crime has increased in Tower Hamlets when it's fallen over the rest of East London, so something's going wrong. And the Mayor's got a duty to pull together all the agencies to try and tackle crime and antisocial behaviour. So I would roll my sleeves up, sit down with the police, sit down with the other agencies, sit down with the housing providers and work out what we're doing wrong. It could be that we're just unlucky, but I think it's just too much of a coincidence that we've had a newly elected mayor, crime has risen, someone has got their eye off the ball. And so we need to have local partnerships, we need to work with the different agencies, we need to look at the role of alcohol, we need to look at the drugs trade and work out the different steps we can take. So it could be, if you're on an individual estate, that we need to improve the lighting. It could be in a particular place we need to target a particular family or group of people who are causing the crime. It could be that misery is being caused by antisocial behaviour and we need to focus on that as well. There's a whole bunch of things we need to do to make this a safer borough where people feel safe.
In Tower Hamlets' first manifesto, they have quite clearly put that in terms of addressing the crime issue, they'll have more police, and drug dealers will be under surveillance, strong surveillance, and they will be targeting drug dealers who are coming into Tower Hamlets. Will you maintain that, or are you going to do something even better? I'm
very pleased that Mayor Rahman has adopted and copied the Labour policy of a dealer a day, which is a good headline to do. I think we need to do more at targeting the estates where there's a real problem with drug dealing. I think we need to keep the police officers paid for by the council, which are currently paid for. And we need, on top of that, to re-establish, in my view, the principle of neighbourhood policing, which is about focusing police on individual neighbourhoods. So Brick Lane needs a lot of attention with policing, but there are other parts of the borough who feel neglected as a result of that, and I want all parts of town to feel safe. It's not good enough to trust the police to get this right. It needs to be a strong partnership. Okay.
We are nearly coming to the end of this segment. How will you ensure that you can be a mayor for the multi-ethnic, multicultural Tower Hamlets? Because you have had to defend yourself in various shows, in various medias, that you are not a racist.
Oh, for goodness sake. Well, I think there's a two-part answer to that. The first one is I've been doing politics in Tower Hamlets for over a quarter of a century now, and I have never been seriously accused of being a racist. I come from a party which is proud to represent all communities. A majority of our candidates are from BME backgrounds for the council. A majority of our candidates are Muslim. I'm very proud to have hundreds and hundreds, thousands of friends from the Bengali community, the Somali community. So I'd simply reject that. And if people have evidence that they think I am, then they need to put it up rather than just making these vacuous allegations. Second thing is that, yes, I love Tower Hamlets and I've lived here for over half my life now. and it's a great place, and the thing that makes it great is its diversity and the fact that people can live together. I think one thing I would want to challenge is that some of the politics can be too inward looking, and what we need people to do who come to Tower Hamlets is to say we're part of this great city where there are so many opportunities, and we need to open our eyes and work on maximising the benefit for ourselves and our family, and recognising that we're a strong community when we're united. I don't think that's a racist message, that's an anti-racist message. It's what makes London the most exciting city in the world, and I'm very proud to be part of that.
This inward view, to
Yep.
make it outward, the Conservative candidate was saying that he's a new into politics, young man, energetic, and bringing new ideas, new vision. What is difference between someone who is experienced into politics and who is energetic and new into politics can actually bring that outward view?
Well, I've made lots of mistakes and I've learned from them, so I'm pretty experienced in that way. But I also have a team. It's not just me, the team of candidates, our 45 candidates for the council, who include a whole range of experience, youthfulness, vigour, excitement. I'm also part of a wider party, which has got a lot of links into that. I'm also very clear as mayor that you're not the sort of dictator, the emperor. You're part of a community and you want to work with the talents across the community. I'm really keen for us to unlock the potential of our young people because they are our future. So John Biggs is potentially the mayor. I hope I will be the mayor on Friday. But if I'm the mayor, then I'm not bothered about my picture being in the papers. That's not a big deal. I'm bothered about the borough being a success, which people will get into the headlines for the right reasons and not the wrong reasons.
And you have 48 hours to go, and your campaign team is, I believe, working very hard.
Yep. I hope so. If they're not, I'll have words with them.
And best of luck for you, and good luck for 22nd. Do you have anything to say to our viewers?
Well, I'm very proud to be part of this community, and it's a very powerful community when we work together. One of my promises is to learn a bit more Sylheti. I don't know much, but so finally I would say Ami Apni Vote Shai, which I think is a way of saying please consider lending me your support in the election, and I will work very hard for you because we're a strong community when we work together.
Do you think you have that quality to bring the community together?
I think so. I think my record down the years, I've helped pull the Labour Party together. I then went to City Hall. I've come back to do it again. My record was of bringing the borough back together when we had the Lib Dem administration. And now I need to pull us back from this mess we're in with this rather inward-looking administration under Mayor Rahman, which is not part of the wider political community, and in which Tower Hamlets is ostracised and left outside of London's wider politics. I think we need to look outwards politically. We need to be part of a bigger family, and we need to work together to achieve great success for all of us. And yes, I'm ready for that. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. Let's hope I'm lucky, and let's hope that people of Tower Hamlets are wise enough to make the change that I think we need to make.
If you're unlucky on 22nd, will you be able to work with the current mayor?
Well, I've tried working with him in the past, and I will try and fix meetings. He's not very good at keeping appointments. I will publish my diary, by the way, which he's never been able to do himself. But yes, I'll offer him a meeting. The first thing I will do, regardless of the outcome, is I will reach out my hand and shake Lutfur Rahman's hand, because whatever else is said about him, it's a tough job, and I know that he has not acted with malice in the job. I think I could do a better job than him, but I'm very happy to be a colleague of his in the town's political community.
Best of luck for 22nd, and thank you for giving us time.
Thank you.
দর্শক, আমরা ছোট্ট বিজ্ঞাপন বিরতির পরে টাওয়ার হ্যামলেটসের বর্তমান মেয়র লুৎফর রহমানকে নিয়ে ফিরে আসছি। ধন্যবাদ। থ্যাংক ইউ জন।